And then he's like, okay, I have to make sure that your pulse,
he was checking pulses
in your private area
to make sure that they were okay.
is intact.
The accusers may be different.
Just relax, just relax.
Takes his hand.
He still did not have gloves on.
With no gloves on still.
But their accounts of what they say happened to them inside the Cumberland Children's Hospital are very similar. These former teen patients are 2 of 30 alleged victims who are suing the hospital, its owner, and former medical director Dr. Daniel Davidow for more than $241 million. The complaint claims Davidow, who was forced out of the hospital in February 2020, would fraudulently check a female patient's femoral pulse and, quote, place his hand beneath the minor patient's undergarments and sexually abuse the minor patient.
In pediatrics, it's important to assess a baby's femoral pulse as a critical way to pick up on congenital heart disease, especially in the newborn period. We continue to assess it during those early exams.
Dr. Melissa Nelson is a pediatrician unassociated with Cumberland Hospital. CBS 6 spoke with her, and we reached out to the American Academy of Pediatrics on when it's appropriate for a doctor to check for a femoral pulse. A spokesperson said, quote, in AAP guidance for pediatricians called Bright Futures, palpating femoral pulses is mentioned as part of the physical exam during infancy visits, but there are not specifics included on how or when exactly this is done. The last visit that a femoral pulse check is listed in an exam in this Bright Futures pocket guide is 9 months. The guide spans from newborn through 21 years old.
I've been a pediatrician for 20 years, and I have never seen an indication for doing a femoral pulse exam on an adolescent.
Through the Freedom of Information Act, CBS 6 was provided more than 200 documents from the Virginia Department of Health and the State Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. We've learned state health officials were aware of numerous sexual assault allegations against Davidow prior to the CBS 6 investigation, which preceded the medical director's termination. According to this state report, from January 2019 to February 2020, 8 incidents involving Davidow were reported. That's almost half of the total number of sexual misconduct complaints made against Cumberland staff during that same time period. Regarding the Davidow complaints, at the time this report was generated, it indicated that 3 were unfounded, 1 screened out or did not meet the statutory criteria, 1 was suspended or put on hold, and 3 of the cases were pending. Those complaints detailed alleged inappropriate touching of females in the groin area. Citing privacy concerns, state officials were unable to give us the current status of these complaints. CBS 6 shared these FOIA documents with State Senator Siobhan Dunavant, an OBGYN who once served on the Virginia Board of Medicine.
That was outside the standard of care, and that, I taking care of women, I take care of teenage and even younger women, I haven't taken a femoral pulse since I was an ICU nurse, and we were in an emergency and really in a code situation or something along those lines. That's when I think that's relevant, because you can't find anything else.
In the spring of 2017, 5 female patients said they were inappropriately touched by Davidow, which led to a New Kent County Sheriff's Department investigation. In an April 13, 2017 New Kent police report, Davidow explained that during his exams, he is rating the patient on Tanner's scale, which is based on certain developmental characteristics of breasts, genitals, and pubic hair, which is why he checks the femoral pulse on both sides. The report states he can also feel for pubic hair development in order for him to scale the patient. New Kent County investigators would ultimately find the allegations were unfounded.
And I have to say, of everything that you sent me, that was the most disturbing and concerning. So Tanner scale and hair growth is a visual, not a tactile assessment. So that would not be the proper way to assess what he was looking at.
When I hear about an adolescent who's having femoral pulses done by someone without gloves on and doing it regularly and also feeling their pubic hair during that assessment, I've got a lot of flags going off, and they're not good ones.
CBS 6 would later learn that days before our first investigative report aired, the chief clinical officer of the DBHDS expressed multiple concerns about Davidow.
Not only is it a law here in Virginia, hearing the stories and the investigations and the details, it is also a moral obligation to ensure that I can do what is in my ability to do to ensure that it doesn't continue.
Dr. Alexis Saplaska filed this complaint with the Department of Health Professions after an interagency meeting January 30th, 2020, where, quote, CPS provided accounts of over 12 allegations of abuse, physical and sexual, by Dr. Davidow. In the complaint, she'd write, quote, Dr. Davidow in Cumberland Hospital does not meet an acceptable standard of care, and this places vulnerable children and families at medical risk.
My intent really for putting this complaint in was that I don't feel that this is a person who should be working with highly vulnerable youth who don't have the ability to articulate exactly what has happened to them.
Saplaska says DHP investigated, but she was advised the Board of Medicine would not initiate disciplinary proceedings.
Were you satisfied with the ruling?
No, I was not. I think when there are such egregious allegations and a complaint to the detail that I provided, I think there is an opportunity to continue to dig deeper and ask more questions of the person that is providing that complaint, and give feedback, about the kind of ultimate verdict, whether or not it changes that, it could possibly lead them towards a different action.
In your opinion, should Dr. Davidow have his medical license?
No.
Do you feel like you did everything in your power to see that happened?
I guess from a legal regulatory standpoint, perhaps, but I would like to know if there is something else that I could do. And if there is, I would be the first one to do it.
Davidow still holds an active medical license and has not been criminally charged. Meanwhile, Senator Donovan says she's committed to doing whatever it takes to ensure kids in the Commonwealth stay safe.
But I'm going to be asking a lot of questions, and I'm concerned about our children in Virginia anyway, because this is a big issue, and there are a lot of incidences at this hospital, and it deeply concerns me. Everybody in the state is looking at this and trying to make darn sure that they have an assessment of what happened so that they can know it and hold people accountable where appropriate.
CBS 6 reached out to Dr. Davidow through his attorney, and they declined to comment due to pending litigation. The Board of Medicine declined to comment as well, citing confidentiality laws. Much more on WTVR.com.